I am officially live. I don't feel very alive. I feel a little less than alive right now, I'd have to say. More on the dead-ski side of things, I would say. Let me find my channel. Where are we? Where are we? There we are. Oh, I see. It does do those really weird. It just throws the profile up, huh? When it's when it doesn't know what to do for the photo. All right. Hey, Rebecca, how are you? Pop out chat. There we go. Pop out the chat. Pop it out. Here we go. I do that. I do that. And 3D Medic Vince. 3D Medic Vince. Boy, that's a lot going on there. Afternoon, good sir. Afternoon to you, too. Yes, it's my post Burn&Learn. Oh, what a miserable, soggy, slightly wintry, wretched day it is today. Moto, hello. Hello, Stephen. You coming to World of Commodore. Oh, my God, is that this weekend? Is that this weekend? Oh, my God, I hope so. Oh, my God, I've got a podcast thing tomorrow. I have to do this companion podcast thing for Gate World. Is it both days? Good afternoon, David. Good afternoon, everyone in chat. Hope everyone is having a good day. I've got it in my freaking schedule. It's on my calendar. How could I have missed it? Is it both days? If it's both days, then I think I'll aim for Sunday. That's probably my best bet. Let's have a look. Yes, it's both days. Stephen Cameron says it's both days. Okay, so I should aim for Sunday then. That's probably my best bet because I've got a podcast on Saturday with Brad Wright and Rob Cooper, the two original Stargaters, and we're going to be talking about the first two episodes, the pilot episodes of Atlantis. I haven't talked to them for ages. I've talked to Brad more recently. I haven't talked to Robert in like freaking ever. I may not even recognize him at this point. So I'm seeing them tomorrow at like 2:00 Eastern time. I think it is, something like that. And we'll just talk for an hour about that stuff. And then I've got a birthday party I got to go to. So I hate birthday parties. I really do. I mean, this is a friend that we love very much. So I will drag my sorry ass to a dinner with 8 people, but only for her. And then Sunday, I guess I'm going to the Commodore. I'm going to the Commodore show. That sounds amazing. In the morning. What? In the morning? Dude, you need to be at Walk. Walk. Is that World of Commodore? Is that what Walk is? Chris Edwards Restoration? In the morning. Is that morning? Is it a morning thing only, Stephen? I got to go have a look at this. I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to look it up. Here I go. New window. I'm looking it up. Here I go. Is it World of Commodore? 2023. Here we go. World of Commodore. Toronto pet users. I love it. Saturday and Sunday. So 10 a.m. Oh, that's a reasonable hour. Come celebrate the 40th anniversary of World of Commodore with us. Buy your tickets online through Ticket Tailor. Never heard of them. Please see the admission section below for more details. Online purchases end at 12:01 on Saturday, December the 2nd. Okay, so I have to buy it. Don't buy it. Try to buy it on the day of. Our special guest this year will be Amiga engineer. Oh, wow, cool. He'll be in attendance courtesy of our wonderful sponsor, Retro Rewind. See, what's Retro Rewind? I have to go check them out. Let me go check them out right now. See, look at how the sponsor worked. Oh, ooh, they sell all the old Commodore stuff. Ooh, an Amiga. Ooh. Okay, I got to try this. This better not cost me a lot of money. That's all I'm going to say. It's like I will be in big trouble. Okay, so I need to come on Sunday then. So Sunday, December the 3rd, 10 a.m., and that's the plan then. Great. Thank you for reminding me. I would have totally forgotten. Totally would have forgotten. Freaking me out, she did. What? Who's freaking who out? Saturday and Sunday till 6 p.m. Okay, great. Good. Sunday morning, Stephen says. Okay, yep, 10 a.m. I'll be there. The Hewlett Master power of Burn&Learn compels you. I know. No kidding, huh? So not that there's any day that I particularly want to do this, but for those of you who don't know, this is my Burn&Learn. This is my attempt to stay fit and alive long enough to enjoy my old age with my brilliant, beautiful wife, Jane, and my fabulous son, Sebastian, and my mad, crazy, thoroughly irritating dog, Huzzah, who's probably currently digging holes in the backyard. We did some routering. I don't know what the term would be for it, but I have this little router set up, and not like the CNC router. This is like a stationary router. And you just run the wood through it. And so I had a friend who wanted to do, actually it was Lord Chunky's dad wanted to do some work and put a couple of little what would they be? I don't know what they'd be. Little cuts basically in this wood to allow him to build a kind of a picture frame for the thing they're working on. It's just kind of neat to have the tools for that, and I love that I'm someone who can sort of provide those things when they're need. I really would love to do a makerspace. I just think that it just seems crazy to have tools and not have them being used by people all the time. I mean, it drives me a bit nuts. First computer was a VIC-20. Yeah, Commodore 64 was my first one. Was it my first one? I think it was a Commodore 64, although my dad did have one of the old 808s, where they were 8086 maybe, I can't remember. He had one of the old IBM clones when they first started happening. Oh my God, that Commodore 64, I loved it. I ended up getting everything I could for it. I got all of the add-ons. I got modems to go to the bulletin board systems. Oh my God, I love the bulletin board systems. I kind of miss the bulletin board systems in a way. I know we've got the internet now and all the rest of it, but there was something kind of fun. No, you know what? This is probably just rose-colored glasses, because the reality is it was miserable, because I had like a 1200 baud modem and it took forever to do anything. And whenever anyone answered the phone or the call waiting clicked in, you'd be screwed. It would knock you off. It was just, kids, they don't know how good they got it. Hey, David. You have asked me yesterday about my hearing aid. It's called a BAHA, bone-anchored hearing aid. It is similar to a cochlear implant. Is that interesting? Okay. I mean, I just love, me. I love my hybrid human technology thing. My BBS is still running. Chris, you still got a BBS? Oh my God. Can you access it through the internet? Is there like a portal you can get through that way? 8088, Amber screens, leading edge word processing. Yeah, Amber screen. So it was an 8088, I guess, and it was WordPerfect was the one that I think Dad was using. Even back then, I think it was WordPerfect. Although on the Commodore 64 is Bank Street Writer. That was the one, which I think was written by a kid. Your mic is fancy, like a disco beehive. It's true. It is like a disco beehive. That's a very good way of putting it. My son chose this one when he was much younger and more into the unicorn vomit. Wouldn't partnering with some group where you are be something you would be up to? You can run as a nonprofit and bring school kids. You do stuff to do. I've looked into a lot of this stuff. The biggest issue I have is just time. Anything that if I start something like this, I don't know what happens when I get a job. Like as soon as I get an acting job or an audition or that kind of stuff, my schedule gets thrown off, and I have to keep up with that because that's where that is my income. So I love the idea, though, of having a space, and I think you're right, like some kind of a not-for-profit thing. The Tech Bandits is a very sort of it's an unstructured system where if people need tools and stuff, they just they text me or whatever, and that kind of stuff. So I've got stuff that they can use for sure, but it's not. Yeah, it's my issue is the chaos that is my life. I think really. I mean, I would love to just be doing the tech banditry kind of stuff, but my son is actually going to go and talk to the guy who runs the community center today about, he's got an idea to get us into some libraries and start doing some stuff for, like, do our tech bandit stuff, but in a library with a bunch of different kids at different schools and stuff, which would be amazing. And what I'd love to do is teach, or get a couple of kids up to speed and then they can do it. Because the reality is, most of the stuff that I do is based off things that have been inspired by their own interests. It's not, I mean, some stuff I come up with, but most of it's just based on what I see as of interest to the kids. I mean, the really fun one that's going into the email of awesomeness this week is the Spotify's year-end wrap-up of what you've been listening to. And it's just amazing. The kids are absolutely taken with it. And I'm like, oh my God, Spotify is literally doing our work for us, because, Spotify is making big data understandable and the idea of data visualization. And I mean, this is great. I mean, I was trying to show them how data can be made far more interesting. Like at one point I had robots with crayons attached to them, and they would crawl certain distances in certain directions based on whatever the number of the data was that we put in from a Google trend or something. So you get these weird, crazy images, but it was just trying to link in their brains the idea that, numbers are boring, and a big part of numbers and and data analysis is storytelling with those numbers. How do you make those numbers interesting? So it's a little tangent that I go on in the email of Awesomeness this week. Is just this idea that data visualization, Spotify's just basically just broken that open for us. Like, this end of year beautiful little animation that they put together, and at the end, your favorite band will say, "Hey guys, thanks for," like the National. I listen to a lot of the National, and as it turns out, an awful lot of Tay-Tay as well. It seems a little Taylor Swift as well. And so I got a nice little thank you from the National, not personally, but they just did one for everybody who the National was their top songs. And it's just a really smart way of presenting the data, making it interesting. And apparently Baz says that his friends just sit down there, they go through it together, and they have a lot of fun with it. So I love the idea that that is a perfect in for me, perfect way of going like, aha, you like that? Well, then that's data, and that's data analysis. Like that's, what else can we look at in interesting, weird, and wonderful ways? Graphs don't have to just be a bunch of colored lines or bars. They can be whatever you want. However best to represent data is what it's about. And I think that's just kind of fun. This place looks like trouble, doesn't it? Real trouble. Hey, David, are you missing a kangaroo? Am I missing a kangaroo? I don't know. Possibly. Wow. I thought dial-up was horrible. Yeah, it's true. Dial-up was horrible. It's true. I still have a working C64. Oh, I'm jealous. KB Thickham. A working C64. Yeah, I'd love one, but at the same time I go like, at this point, what would I do with it other than just have it run all the time? I was watching some old Mr. Robot episodes. I love all the hacking stuff in that. That's part of the reason why I watch it. And they had a scene where this woman is being interrogated by a little girl who runs a series of questions through. It's the Commodore 64 that puts up, and oh my God, I don't know, they're just that retro cool. That said, what I found funny about it was she comes in, she fires up the computer, she starts asking the questions. I was like, well, that's the one thing that I would say they might have got wrong, because there's like a 20-minute boot up, if that, probably more than that. The Commodore 64 used to take forever to grind away to get things up and running, even with the floppy disk. So I still use IRC. Look at you, Slayer Darth, kicking it old school. CBC radio report, there's a kangaroo on the loose near Durham. Really? Oh my God, that poor kangaroo. It's got to be wet, cold, and miserable right now. IRC, I know everyone's impressed with the IRC stuff. If you were to set up a non-profit makerspace, you could also hire a part-time manager who could manage the space when you're not available and be able to write off their wages. That's great. I guess that's a possibility. Not-for-profit makes more sense to me. Although I talked to someone who runs a charity, fabulous charity, Let's Talk Science, and she said that because of so many restrictions on how the government requirements have for running a charity, that she says it's better to have a corporation and then just pour the money back into whatever you're doing. Then you can basically change direction whenever you want. You can do what you want, and you just put the money back into what you're doing. You can't get donations, but if you're making money, then you can just put the money back into what you want to. So, Sleepy Developer, first time chat. Technically, we're using IRC right now. Yeah. This is based on actually the Twitch. I don't think the YouTube stuff is, but because I've got both the YouTube and the Twitch up right now. But I think you're right, Sleepy Developer. I'm pretty sure that when I was looking at some coding of the Twitch chat stuff, because I was thinking about it might be kind of fun to automate some of this stuff. I think it talked about some kind of an interface with IRC, so I think it is based around IRC somehow. Yeah, Twitch chat is IRC. There you go. Hawkslayer 2. There's a whole bunch of first-time chatters coming in here, and they're letting me know how it is. Okay, good. So I was right. Fantastic. I was right. So basically, Sleepy Developer was right, and I jumped in on it. We all kind of do. Twitch chat is basically... Oh, everyone's saying, oh, my God, everyone's on the... Do we just got like an entire group of hackers in here or something? It's amazing. And I use that in a good way. As I say, I just started going over this Mr. Robot episodes. I watched the first season, and it just really pissed me off. The ending really pissed me off, I got to say. Not a big fan of that season. And I thought, and I gave up on it then. I went back again to watch it at one point, and I found season 2 began really slowly. And even though I liked a couple of the actors that were involved, and then I went back. Jane was away, and I wanted to do something other than, I didn't really have time to watch a movie. ended up watching a couple episodes of Mr. Robot, and man, it's slow. It's so slow. Sometimes you just want to just watch it at double speed. But the hacking stuff is so beautiful. It's so well done. It seems, from my limited knowledge of the stuff, seems very legit. And the other thing I loved about it is, like, normally you see montages of, like hacker types with their hoodies just sitting in the glow of a computer for a while and looking up and thinking and then tapping frantically and stuff. And they got around that by having a screen, like a multi-screen shot with our, Mr. Robot, from a couple of different angles and, dimly lit and the whole hacker thing. But at the top of the screen, it had what he was typing on the computer, and it was legit stuff. Like, it was very, very cool. GLaDOS. What's GLaDOS? I stopped Mr. Robot after season 2. Yeah, is it? I started watching the first episode of season 1, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. There's just too much freaking talking and talking slowly, and yeah, it just became a little too. What's the term? Just a little indulgent. It just a little self-indulgent. Max Headroom. Oh my God, so get this. In order to watch Max Headroom, I wasn't allowed to watch television during the week. So I ended up pulling an old black and white television set out of someone's garbage and sneaking it into the house and climbing up on the roof to splice the cable from our house. So I cut off our cable, split it, had it run into our house, had it run under the floor and back up. And I had the TV under a pile of stuff at the foot of my bed. So I'd pretend to be reading in bed, and I'd have the TV on, and I wired in a little, I remember I had to solder it in because there was no earpiece. I soldered it on one of those little crystal earpieces, and I used to listen to Max Headroom, and the other one was Square Pegs was the other one I used to watch at the time too. And then of course Doctor Who all the time as well. So, Mr. Robot, one of the best shows I've seen. Such a good hacker story. Yeah, G Cloud. I absolutely. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like the only movie that I would say, and it's not really fair to compare it because it was actually a documentary, was the Clifford Stoll, The Cuckoo's Egg, which was a wonderful. I mean, I haven't seen it for years, but it was a absolutely brilliant depiction of his attempts to foil these basically follow a 25 cents or 75 cent error in network access, and that turned out to be like a Russian spy stealing stuff from DARPA or something. It was just an extraordinarily great film. I read the book first, actually, and then I found the movie later. But it's, just amazing. Make sure y'all lock the stream. What does that mean? Make sure you all lock the stream. Social. It could be a social enterprise rather than a nonprofit. We're in Canada, so we have different corporate structures. All I know is if I create another corporation, my wife will murder me. Yeah, because God knows, every time you develop a movie, you have to create a corporation around it. So Jane is in development on like 6 or 7 films. She has to do, I think it's it could be as many as 10 corporate tax returns she has to do every year now. It's absolutely insane. What did I miss, Cal? Oh, come on. They just subscribed. Give me a second. Everyone, Cal's here. Cal is reminding me to thank Watcher652 for their tier 1 subscription. Thank you very much, Watcher. Very, very kind. Sherlock did it more than a year before House of Cards. Did what? David probably never played Portal. He would have gotten hellish motion sickness. I tried, Zashiva. But you're right. Yeah, motion sickness is terrible. That was a good story, too. I think that was a Nova documentary. Oh, was it? Oh, maybe it was. It's possible. Have you ever read Expeditionary Forces book series? No, I haven't. I don't know what that is. That sounds interesting. Felipe dos Santos. Good afternoon, all from Nolan. I would say good afternoon to you, too, although it's not much of an afternoon. It's pretty miserable. I can hear the rain. It's not even rain. It's cold enough that it's coming down like slush. My son said, would it be possible to I should turn this down, but it looks like I'm peeking. My son actually said, would it be okay if he took Uber to go to the community center for his thing today? And I was like, all right, fine, because I walked the dog today. It's just miserable. Raining where Watcher is, too. Hello, Cal, says Christian. Wormhole says, hello, Wormhole42. Hello. Wormhole, I haven't opened your box yet. Poor Wormhole had to, was it Wormhole? Did I get it right? Did I get the right person? Or was it Watcher? Oh my God, I got confused here. I get all these. I get all the nicknames. I get all the username, all the cool hacker names. I get them all mixed up. I've just been sent this wonderful package. I don't know what it is, but I had to be reminded that it was coming. And I send stuff through Jane's company just to sort of, add a slight layer of a thin veil of protection. And so I went and checked her mail stuff for her production company, and sure enough, there was this box ready to go. That was it. All right, so Expeditionary Forces book series. All right, I have to look that up. I have to talk about my Learn. Oh my God, I've got learning to talk about. Okay, so reading the book Madness and Memory, or Memory and Madness. I can't remember what it is. This guy Prusiner, who was the one who discovered the oh God, what are they called? Protids. What do you call them? I've forgotten the term now. Oh my God. This is what happens when you don't eat a big lunch. Anyways, so basically he's discovered these infectious proteins, and it's really fun because it's from his first. It's his view of it. So it's a book written by him about him getting to the point where he's about to win a Nobel Prize. But leading up to it's just been kind of fascinating because one of the things that came up in it was, he's researching these horrible brain deteriorating, not diseases, I guess, but this condition where the brain deteriorates. You get these spongy encephalopathy something or another, which so basically you get these cavities in your brain, nerve damage. It's horrible. It's basically mad cow disease for humans. And so now we're on to mad cow disease because he's talking about how on earth did some people in England end up with the human version of mad cow disease, and this horrible, collision of numerous different events that led to this disaster, which was, it's based on a disease it's similar to a disease called Kuru, I think it's called, and that was attributable to cannibalism, where basically when people died on this little island in I can't remember what it is, Papua New Guinea or something like that. They would as a tribute to the person who had died, to keep it with them, they'd eat their brain, and by eating the brain, this was creating this condition where they all started dying of this horrible sort of shaking mad cow type disease, and they discovered that of course what it was this. Eventually, there was this with these proteins, these infectious proteins, which had never been heard of before. Two things he had to battle. The idea that there was no such thing as how could you have an infection without DNA? It seemed ridiculous. And then the next thing that, as I was saying yesterday, was the idea, or was the other day before yesterday, that he also had to prove that, the general understanding was that when these proteins folded, they folded in one particular shape. He now had to prove to everyone that no, that was not the case, that the shape could be different without the introduction of chemicals and stuff. So just really neat stuff. And then, of course, all these people who basically worked against him. One of the things that came up in this recent reading is a guy who just started publishing the fact that he created these things. That basically this was his. Yeah, no. He basically said that he'd been the one to discover this protein, which of course is not true. I'm just going to look up what it was. It was the prion. There you go. So you're basically this guy who's been calling what he's working on a waste of time, saying that it's impossible. These can't possibly be proteins. Of course they're infections. So this guy who's been just bad-mouthing this guy's research for decades, once it starts getting into vogue, starts basically trying to take credit for it. And just what a crazy madman this guy was, to such a point that he gets busted for child molestation. Like, he was bringing these kids over from wherever it was. I think it was Papua New Guinea to England to get an education, very sort of British colonial type, colonizer crap. And apparently, of course, he was messing around with some of these kids as well. So he got put in jail. He basically put himself in exile. Went to I can't remember where he went to get away from it. And then just would go to continue to go to these conferences and berate this guy, saying that he discovered this thing that he hadn't discovered. So there's just so many really amazingly bizarre stories here. And he was just saying how sad it was. This guy died on his own. He was obviously a mess. But the creepy thing is, like, he adopted like 22 of these kids. So God, it's just like, anyways, just some really strange and peculiar characters involved in this. I mean, like I say, I always thought of scientists as these very sort of straight-laced, lab coats and very specific and all about the numbers and tidiness and yet the stories this guy has about the various different researchers and scientists and professors and stuff that he's worked with or worked against over the years is just extraordinary. But this confluence of events that led to these people, unfortunately kids, getting this horrible deterioration in the brain was a combination of the fact that I guess Thatcher's England was trying to privatize stuff, and so they let a bunch of these government requirements about how these cow carcasses were being treated. They let them go because they wanted industry to thrive and all the rest of it. My father, of course, was a big Thatcher fan. I'm not so sure about it myself, but and I didn't, I wasn't there for that. But anyways, point being was basically because these regulations, they stepped back on these regulations, they discovered that they could create this, they could, bubble down, they could bubble off these fats at a much lower temperature, and they didn't require these chemicals, these natural chemicals, and that would get rid of the rest of the fat, and they could then put it into things like, this is horrendous too, baby food. Yeah, they were literally putting like cow brain materials into baby foods. And of course there was cattle feed and all sorts of stuff. So this stuff ended up in the human population through anything from, it could be hamburgers to anything, because the system, instead of burning off everything except about 6% of the fat, this was only burning off I think there was still 17% fat or something. So there's a much larger chance of this infectious protein getting in there. So it was a combination of that, and then it was a combination of there was something else. There was and of course there was mad cow. Then there was an actual mad cow epidemic at the time, and the British beef industry was floundering, and they were, the last thing they wanted to do was announce that, British beef was bad for you. So of course there's these horrible, confluence of events that led to this stuff getting into the market and staying there for a while, and also the fact that this thing took sometimes 10 years before it showed up in the brain. So before it showed up, became symptoms in the brain. So just this horrendous way the world works. They talk about the fact that, Oprah Winfrey got onto this stuff and was like, well, I'm never eating beef again. And then, of course, got sued by the beef industry. They lost the lawsuit. But it's just, again, it was recommended to me by James R. Gurney, who I've just seen zip by. Well, thank you, Cat033 Hi. That was very nice of you for the subscribing. I just saw James drop in here, but James R. Gurney was the one who recommended this book, and it's fantastic. And if I apologize for the swearing, that's my son downstairs playing Fortnite. This is the joy of the open concept house. You can just hear Baz swearing away at his friends downstairs. I think for a while they thought it couldn't really hurt people because Scrapey didn't really hurt people. They didn't make the connection. The guy who discovered created the prion, was saying that even he hadn't thought about it. Like, even he hadn't thought about the fact that this stuff could cause that. The biggest issue they had was with these growth hormones, right? Because the growth hormones originally, I believe they were from the pituitary glands from human cadavers originally. They then created like a fabricated one, like a created one. And so that stopped the problem. But there were all these kids who'd been given these growth hormones who then became incredibly sick. So, bonsoir, Lorenzo Vincenzo. Prions, that's the word. Thank you, Unbent Crayfish. You got it. Love my work on Stargate. Man, says Wax. Thank you very much. I'm very kind. Well, you can enjoy me talking about that work tomorrow on The Companion if you want. 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Talking to Brad Wright and the fabulous Rob Cooper. And we'll be talking about the first couple of shows of that. So you should have a check on that. I thought you wrote Scrabble. Scrapple, not Scrapey. Yeah, scrapie is this horrible disease that I think it was sheep get, where they just scrape they scrape their neck until they bleed, basically, and then it's all sorts of horrible stuff. Anyways, but it relates to another illness that humans get as well. And it just, oh man, it's like, it's funny. The book is kind of miserable, I suppose, in a way, if you think about it. I for some reason, it allows you to distance yourself from these patients in a way. Actually, it's a really interesting point that the book has, I think, because he's writing the book, you end up in his headspace about this stuff, where he will mention how sad it is and tragic it is that people have died in these conditions. But there's definitely a weird sense of like, of sort of academic distance from the actual issues. Hello, dog. So will that be on Twitch? I have no idea, Mr. Clean Tracy. I think the idea is that we will be live on the companion app, which I think you have to pay for. I'm pretty sure they say, yeah, in fact, I know you have to pay for it. I think it's like $20, something like that. But then I think they put the video out on YouTube after, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. Doctor Who's on at 1:30. I know. Who scheduled this thing? Burn&Learns don't get the same numbers of views as Tech Bandits or Damn Dirty Abe's. Well, as they should. Who wants to watch a big sweaty Hewlett talking about his exercise routine? I'm with you. Why would they? I don't really do it for the numbers, to be honest. I do it because this is my reward for doing all that damn dirty exercise. Oh God, I hate it. I just hate it. Absolutely hate it. There's no way around it. I put it off until quite late today. I dreaded every second of it. I kept, I do this thing where I try to trick myself into like, I'll just go and I won't look at the timer or anything until I know that I've done a lot. And I was like, okay, I've done a lot. I open my eyes. I'm like, I've done like 5 minutes. Like time was crawling. It was horrible. Horrible in every way. Like no one else has exercised in their life. They don't know what that is. Probably the people currently present want to see that. That's true. They probably should. You might want to check in with the companion. Have a look. See, I'm pretty sure that if you want to be a part of the live event, you have to be a member of the companion. Other than that, I think you can do it. You can chat, not chat, but you can watch it on YouTube after. But it wouldn't be live, right? Exercising does suck. It's true. It's true. KB Thickham, it really does. Wish I didn't have to do it. Wouldn't it be cool to have? I know, like that would be a fun genetic thing to figure out. How can I look like Jason Momoa without having to do all the work that Jason Momoa does? That would be a pleasure. That would be very good. Will that be on your channel tomorrow? No, it will not, Wendy Olson. No, it's nothing to do with me. I was just invited to join Brad Wright, and then I found out that Rob Cooper was there as well. And I feel like, those guys gave me a pretty good job. I should probably, help them out with the podcast, don't you think? And also just to be kind of fun. I haven't talked to them for a while, so. If you're doing something fun, it's fine. It's just forcing yourself to exercise in a boring way. I think it's really excruciating. But that's it. I don't know. I don't know what exercise. I've got to say, I used to love the Taekwondo. That was fun. I felt like I was learning something while I was exercising. It was very sort of Zen and stuff. Not Zen at all, but it felt like I was achieving something. Nowadays, it's just about how do I put in the time as quickly as possible, as painlessly as possible. How can I make it so that it's just impossible for me to skip? And it's like I just go to the garage, I do my 37 minutes or whatever it was today, and then it's done, and that's it. At least I get to read something while I'm doing it. So that's what I do. I just need to keep my heart rate above X for Y minutes. Is that what it comes down to? I don't even know the math on it. To me, it's just like, you know what? I got on the damn elliptical. I don't want to think about it any more than that. I used to love cycling to and from work, getting to exercise whilst commuting, but being knocked off the bike several times and breaking ribs, etc., kind of put me off it. Yeah, movie lad. That was my father used to cycle into work every single day, and he had the most horrific accidents because people are just idiots. They just don't care. IO Taekwondo is awesome. I love Taekwondo. Absolutely amazing. How to look like Jason without all the work. There's something for that, but it is typically illegal. Is it really? Oh, are you talking about like steroids and stuff? Is that? I'd rather not die in the process. It only stays open for 38 minutes, eh? It's true. Only 38 minutes. That's it. That's true. I should do these streams for only 38 minutes. That's a good point. I'm at 34 now. Yes, it's Dr. McKay, and he ignored my message. Yeah, that's what Dr. McKay does. Ignore messages. Why? What did you say? Let's get magnetic. What did you say that I've missed out on that's so important? Hey, new sub here. Just amazing to see Dr. McKay. Didn't know you existed on YouTube. Well, I do. Let's get magnetic. There you go. I responded to your chat. People get they get as snarky as McKay when I miss their chats. What else we got in here? Yeah, I used to bike. I never understand how anyone uses a bicycle in densely populated cities like New York City. I know, it's amazing. One of my first big acting jobs was a movie called Where the Heart Is that was directed by John Boorman, who did like Deliverance and Excalibur, all these amazing movies. And there was a scene that I had to be a bicycle courier in New York City, and they did this. They just took a van, and they like put a sheet at the back and a little hole for the camera, and they just shot it like a documentary. And I cycled around New York City, and I've never been so freaking terrified in my life. I sucked at cycling. It had those little things you put your feet in, the little cages for your feet. I could never get them right. Luckily, I was supposed to be bad at it in the movie, so it worked out very well. But my God, I've never been more terrified than that. I'd never been to New York City before. And the first thing I did was get on a freaking bicycle and drive around Manhattan on a freaking bicycle. Potholes and everything. Oh my God. It was like it would have been I guess was it the early 2000s or late 90s, maybe something like that? Yeah, at least, well, probably 80s actually, now I think about it. Lots of hair, a lot of hair ago. Just got in. How do you like the Logitech mic? It's not a Logitech, it's a HyperX, it's called. I have a Logitech, no, I don't. I used to have a great Logitech USB camera, but yeah, this is the Unicorn Vomit HyperX, and it's not bad. I'm having trouble with the headphones. I got these Razer headphones, and for some reason they're messing up the sound. I don't know what the deal is, but they I think I'm gonna have to ditch them and go with some just standard old plug-in ones. But I don't really need it now. So you were a little darling computer nerd in Where the Heart Is. That's right, Watcher652. I was. What camera do I use? Razer Kiyo. That's Razer Kiyo is what I've got right now. And then I just use the camera in the laptop for if I'm doing Discord. So I'll do Discord. Like for the Damn Dirty Abe's podcast, I have Q and I talk to each other through Discord. I share his screen on the Streamlabs, and then he will see me through my laptop camera, and then you guys see me through the Kiyo. I like the Kiyo. I got to say it. I like the little light on it. It's been a pretty great little camera. It's not as, I mean, it's a little bit more temperamental than the Logitech, was it the C9, whatever the hell it was. I had 3 of them. I loved them. I've never heard of that. Your hair was blonde and fluffy. It's true. The movie was fluffy too. Yeah, it was an odd film. They thought, oh my God, they thought it was going to be huge, I say. It had some amazing people in it. It had I was Uma Thurman's brother, and Dabney Coleman's son, and Susie Amos's brother, and God, there were some fabulous people in there. Charlie Dillon, who became something else. Dillon. See, he changed his name. He had to change his name because of SAG, and he went on to do some great stuff. Amazing. Yeah. When I first started doing the uphill commute after work, I really felt like I was going to die. So I just told myself to get to the next bus stop. Then I could get on the bus if I needed, and was able to get all the way back. There you go. Setting those little milestones. That's it. John says, the whole setup with Discord, Streamlabs sounds so complex. Surprised you can get it all to work. Yeah, well, John, you obviously haven't been to a lot of my streams because I don't in many cases. For headphones, I use the Sony WH-1000. Okay, all right, and it's super good. Are they super expensive, though? Wait a second, whoa, Wendy. Christopher Eccleston is your favorite Doctor Who? That's weird. I love Christopher. I love him as an actor. I did not love him as Doctor Who. My favorite Doctor Who was Tom Baker, but or John Pertwee. My era was John Pertwee and Tom Baker. Of the new guys, so far, I think probably Matt Smith, I think, is my favorite, probably of the bunch, because he's the most, to me, he was the most Tom Baker-ish of the new breed. To be honest, I thought they all had their charms, but certainly Matt Smith was my favorite for that. Favorite Doctor. Fourth is my favorite, followed closely by 10. Which was 10? I can't keep track of all the numbers. I'm not good at that. Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. Oh, Peter Capaldi. I like him. Peter Capaldi's brilliant. He is God. Absolutely brilliant. I wasn't really watching Doctor Who though while he was the Doctor. David Tennant for me, but Matt Smith second place. Very good. Yeah. That's 10 and 14. 10 equals 14. Oh my God, 10 equals 14. Thank you, Larry. That really doesn't make things more complicated. 10 is Tennant. Oh, look at you. Okay, 10 is Tennant. Very good. Love his accent. It's amazing. Did you ever watch a show called In the Thick of It? The Thick of It, I guess. There was he played this politician who just with the most foul-mouthed politician. He was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Tom Baker. I mean, look, the funny thing is, I think it depends on when you started watching Doctor Who. I started when I was very young. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I used to watch it from behind the sofa because I was terrified. And my parents were watching, it would have been John Pertwee back then. So it was John Pertwee, and then we moved to Canada. Canada had Doctor Who on TVO, and TVO was showing, they went back a bit. So they started with Pertwee, and then they moved into Tom Baker. And I remember, it was the Tom Baker era that just absolutely glued me to this stuff. I was, oh my God. And then, of course, the sci-fi show that they had afterwards, which was a documentary afterwards where you'd have sci-fi people talking about science fiction. Is amazing. Tom Baker, David Tennant for me, very good. Started with Peter Davison. Oh wow! So there you go. That's aging you right there. I was long before that. Peter Davison. I stopped watching with Peter Davison at that point. I sort of tuned out at that point. Started with Eccleston. Okay, fair enough. I watched on PBS. Yeah, well, PBS was basically what we watched it on, but they had some kind of an agreement between, I guess, PBS and the TVO, because TVO is basically PBS up here in Canada. So, no, Shooty is 15, if that's what you mean. Is that the newest? So the newest Doctor is 15. Am I right? Is that right? 15. What books do I read? Well, the book that I'm reading right now, this one for the Burn&Learn. I'm reading this Madness and Memory, which is I read a lot of nonfiction now. Have not read a lot of fiction in a long time. I'm thinking, my wife is threatening that we're going to do like a reading holiday, and it's over the winter. We might do, like, for the winter holidays, we might just do some reading. So maybe I'll sit down and I might tuck in with something like the second Expanse book or something like that. I read the first one. I loved it. There's a lot of stuff to read. There's a ton of stuff to read. I don't know. There's also, I've got tons and tons of the cybersecurity and OSINT stuff that I want to look at as well, because I've just been piling up all this stuff I want to read, thinking like, oh, one day when I get some time, I'll sit down and just go through all this OSINT and cybersecurity stuff, which would be very cool. All right, it is 1:45. I got to go kick my son off his computer and get him to go to the community center and get his hours and figure out if what's next for us tech bandits there. And be forewarned, the second Expanse book is the weakest. Oh, really? But the third is great. Huh. You know, the other one that I really want to do was, what was it called? Ancillary something or another? Someone will know it. One of you fellow nerds will know it. Ancillary Justice, Ancillary something or another. I started it, and I loved aspects of it, and then I got a little lost, and I tried to pick it up again. I didn't know what was going on, and I put it down again. I think it was called Ancillary Justice. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, Ancillary Justice. That was a fun one. I loved the concept of the ship being this organic thing. I've always been obsessed with this mixture of tech and organics, combined into things. Doctor Who. I remember even with Doctor Who, there was I think it was the Spearhead from Space, the episode where there was this, or the Green Death, where these creatures would land on Earth, and the ship was as much of the alien as the aliens themselves, if that made sense. I remember being just absolutely intrigued by that. Yeah, like Moya from Farscape, exactly. Yeah. All right, wrapping it up. That was my Burn&Learn. By the way, I did 37 minutes today, 15 minutes backwards, and the rest of it forwards, on a lower tension. But I'm not messing with my knees anymore. I've decided I'm just going to get that exercise done. Try to get a little bit more of the old cardio going. So again, like I say, tomorrow, 2 p.m., go check out the companion thing, or at least check it out now. find out when they're airing it, not for money. But I think it's $20 to join, and I think that's for the year. It's not $20 a month, is it? I don't know. I'm not like, it's not a service. I mean, it's not a service I use. To be honest, I feel like I've got enough subscriptions as it is already. But people seem to like it, and I think the fact that Brad's got something going there, I think is great. And I want to support him in anything he does, because frankly, he was a big champion for me, and him and Rob Cooper really made the whole Stargate thing possible for me. And I think they're fantastic. So they're also brilliant. That helps too. So, all right. See you later. Be safe, be kind, be brilliant. Till we geek again, I'll say cheerio and huzzah!